Because I believe it's based on assumptions, I believe it's speculative, and a lot of it's very disputable according to mainstream secular academics.
Okay, now how about, so do you believe in the Big Bang?
I don't theologically have a problem with the Big Bang, but the Big Bang is a product of scientific thinking. There's 17 different models, right? It might be true, but science and all of its theories can change. So I don't know whether it's true or not. I do believe there's a beginning to the universe.
How about gravity?
No, gravity is an observation. It's not a theory. You have theories of gravity like general relativity and Newtonian physics, right? But gravity itself is an observation. So of course I believe in observations, but theories based upon observations can be wrong. This is the history of science.
No, I know, but there's a part of gravity I just want to go slightly against, like gravity and density. That's why I'm a bit against gravity when it comes to the sense of everything explaining gravity seems to be density. And anything we can't explain on gravity, we can't explain in that sense. In the sense I would ask...
Well look, the question about what gravity is has been asked for a long time.
Right.
According to Newton, we had the idea that gravity was a pulling force.
Right.
But now, according to general relativity, it's actually due to space-time curvature, and it's more of a pushing force.
Right.
And even the definition of time and space in Newtonian mechanics was fixed, right? But in general relativity, it's like a fabric. It's dynamic, right?
But isn't this all theories? Isn't this all guesses? Have we...
These
proven?
are not guesses. I would say they are theories based upon observational evidence. The observational evidence, we can call it fact, but the theories itself, we can say they're provisional. They may be right, they may be wrong. Chances are they're most likely to be wrong, because the way that science works is this. You have a set of data and you make a theory from it. But the same data can give rise to many different theories. Two, you can always get new data which goes against your previous conclusions. This is why the philosophy of science teaches us there's no such thing as a scientific fact. There's no such thing as a scientific proof. All we have is provisional ideas which can change.
I think that's all I wanted to say anyway. Everyone...
What do you believe about God? You said you're a Christian. What do you believe about God?
Obviously I believe God created the heavens and the earth and blah blah, but the only reason why I'm not an atheist only because when it comes to God saying that you need faith, an element of faith, when most people don't understand what faith is anyway.
They don't know.
Faith is based upon reason, but they need faith. Most atheists try to use evidence to find God when God says you need faith, and people who find God, they end up saying, oh, it's all blah blah, but how would they know if they haven't, found God? So that's just one of my reasons.
But also this, right? They say, I need scientific evidence, right?
Yeah.
What scientific evidence do we have that mathematics works?
Yeah,
None.
None.
Science is based upon mathematics. Science is based upon metaphysical beliefs such as the world is real, right? So science is not something which can prove logical things or mathematical things or that the world is real. Science uses metaphysical beliefs. So why atheists go wrong is because they have a wrong lens on. They're wearing these red glasses and they're saying, I can't see green, I can only see red. The reason why is because they're wearing red. What they need to do is they need to take off their glasses. Rather than using science, they need to use reason. Because remember, a sub-branch of reason is science. Science is, if you like, a product of reason. Reason itself uses inductive logic, deductive logic, testimony. The reality is, we know for certain the world is real, but we can't prove that using science. Yeah? Now, if somebody wanted guidance from God, God will give them guidance in a way that they are certain. That same certainty that they have is subjective. They can't show that to other people. For example, I've had things in my life happen to me which are the equivalent of the sea parting from Moses, for me. But when I explain that to someone else, it makes no sense to them. So God guides, and God says this in the Quran, that whoever asks for guidance, he gives them guidance, and He will show you the signs within yourselves and within the horizons until you know that this is the truth. You yourself know that it's the truth. Right? So the reason why atheists go wrong is because they start off looking for the color green while they're wearing red glasses. That's why they go wrong. But your belief about God, do you believe Jesus is God, or do you believe He's sent by God?
I believe Jesus is God. I'm a Christian.
Do you know the majority of Christians in the first 300 years after Christ, they believed that Jesus was a messenger of God. They did not believe he was divine or the Son of God. The majority. This is according to secular academics.
Don't know about that, but when it comes to the whole Christianity, to me it's like, it's not, how do I say this? Regardless of how it's said and how it's shown, you'd have to say that the disciples also believed that, and Paul never believed that as well. But then we Muslims go against Paul and his teaching.
No, but the thing is this. I agree that you had the Trinitarian type belief existing. Not the Trinity itself, but Trinitarian type of belief. But how you know about early Christianity yourself is only through the Bible, right? But when you look at sources outside of the Bible, what you realize is this. The concept of the Trinity did not formally come as a concept fundamental to belief, to salvation, until after the Treaty of Nicaea, which was put together by a group of people who were fallible, who were human beings. And the Christians who believed exactly what I as a Muslim believe, which is that Jesus is not God, not the Son of God, not part of a Trinity, but Jesus is a messenger of God, a Messiah, they were brutally killed. So the question is this, if Jesus explicitly said, I am God, worship me, why were the majority of Christians after he left this earth believing that he was a Messiah and a messenger, not divine?
No, I don't know about that, because
that's history.
Yeah, you're saying that, but when you look at how the Catholics had...
That's hundreds of years later. Let's forget the Catholics. Hundreds of years later.
So
the Catholics came 300 years later.
So at the time when the Romans... You're talking about the Romans and stuff?
I'm talking about before the Catholic Church.
Before the Catholic Church? But before the Catholic Church were the Romans at the time. They were not Catholics, they were Romans.
No, they were Romans, right? But the Christians, they just didn't live in the Middle East. They lived in Eastern Europe. They lived in all these...
Who were the people who were killing them, did you say?
The Trinitarian Christians were killing the Unitarian Christians.
Right.
The Unitarian Christians believed exactly what I as a Muslim believe, which is there's only one God and Jesus is his messenger.
Well, I don't know too much about that, so I can't really argue.
Okay, look, I'll give you one reference, right? There's a academic with the name Dr. Joel Dirks. He's from Harvard in America, right? He studied at that university. Now what he's got a lecture online called Islamic Trajectories in Early Christianity. And what he does is he only uses mainstream secular sources to show the majority of Christians before the Catholic Church. The majority of them believed exactly what Muslims believe today about Jesus. And that's the majority of Christians. Because look, Emmanuel, right? Me and you, we both know the Bible does not explicitly say Jesus is God. That's an interpretation. We both agree with this.
I've argued with many Muslims on this, and I've got good evidence and good reason to believe that the Bible clearly states
so
says it.
I'm going to go and pray like the midday prayer. I'm going to put my head on the floor to worship God.
Yeah.
Jesus worshipped God in the same way.
Yes, but
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. I'm not against that, but
so he can't be God.
No. That's not how it works, because you need to understand the Trinity. In that sense, you said that.
Look, Trinity came 300 years later. Forget that Trinity for now. 300 years later.
Then, in other words, you dispute the whole Bible. You say the Bible's not even worth.
No. What we as Muslims say is this.
Yeah, look, but I'm basing it on the Bible, so that's what I'm saying. It's either, regardless of what the people.
Okay, if I was to ask you a question, Emmanuel, you yourself right now. You were born on an island, you had no concept of religion.
Yeah.
Looking at the natural world itself, without being taught, you would conclude there's one God. That would make sense. You would never ever conclude God is 3 in 1. Never. You'd never say that.
Yeah, most likely.
And according to you, isn't it true? Whoever disbelieves in the Trinity goes to hell.
Yeah.
Right. That means, according to that, Adam, Moses, Noah, Jacob, Abraham, all of them are going to go to hell because they don't know the Trinity.
Right, okay. No, I think it's based upon when Jesus is coming after Jesus. Before Jesus, he wouldn't count.
Okay, so here's the thing. If God, he sent prophets, he sent Adam, he sent Noah, he sent Abraham, he sent all these prophets, and then Jesus came. And historically, this is a fact beyond belief, beyond doubt. We know there was groups of people who said the same message Jesus said is the same message that came to Noah and Moses, which is there's one God.
Yeah.
And another group is claiming a different message of the Trinity and Jesus' divinity. So if you have this consistent message coming, one God, one God, one God, one God, one God, and then you get a split, and one group says there is one God, and one group says Trinity and other alien concepts, why would you go with the Trinitarian group rather than being safe and going with the Unitarian group?
I'm not basing it. I'm basing it more on truth. So if, regardless of what it looks like, if it ain't the truth, I won't go for what is not the truth. And I'm basing it on the fact that even though Jesus said there is one God, the people who believe that there's three in one still believe that there is one God. There is no contradiction.
No, but remember, nobody during the lifetime of Jesus, and this is even according to
But you need to remember that the people.
but look, no one, this is even according to the Catholic Church, no one, when Jesus was alive, believed in the Trinity. Everybody knows this. The Trinity came 300 years later. You will not find the word Trinity in the Bible. You will not find a single.
It doesn't show the Trinity in the Bible. But
Okay,
it shows
so
the way
if this concept, let me ask you this: if this concept is the difference between you and me going to hell or paradise forever,
yeah.
why wouldn't God just name it? He talked about the rights of neighbors. He talked about rams. He talked about the history of the world.
But you need to
He
remember,
spoke about even the fig tree and all these different things. He didn't mention the word Trinity.
but you need to remember that God never revealed everything to the
Yeah, but
Jews
this is
at
the most
beginning.
fundamental thing. If God said nothing in the Bible, and the Bible's central message was the
Okay,
Trinity is true,
how
the
about-
first thing God would have said is,
Hold
believe
on,
in the Trinity.
How about the disciples? The disciples didn't know who Jesus was. Jesus didn't fully reveal
By the way,
himself.
none of the disciples believe in the Trinity. None.
Wait, I'm going to get to that in a moment. But at the beginning, they didn't know too much about who Jesus was. They were learning who he was. Jesus could have told them, but Jesus decided to withhold information till later on. And then later on, they started to realize who Jesus was. And then Jesus says it wasn't.
No, but that's an interpretation from what you know of the Catholic teachings. Forget that for now.
I'm basing it on the Bible. I'm not basing it on any Catholic teaching. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but remember, the Bible today
Yeah.
was put together after the Treaty of Nicaea, which is what I spoke about earlier. The Bibles of the Unitarian Christians, which never mentioned any of these things, they were burnt.
So you're saying every single one were burned?
This is not me, this is secular mainstream academics, and what they have said is this: the concepts which are outside of the Trinity, they were deemed heresies, and prior to this the Trinity was a heresy and the Unitarian belief was the norm, but it flipped over time. And Emperor Constantine, he persecuted anyone that believed in the Trinitarian belief, anyone that believed in the Unitarian belief. That's the fact.
You need to also remember that if we're talking about. Okay, but I'm looking.
Okay, look.
I can't really talk about this subject so much because I don't know too much about this subject.
I'm just going to ask you a question. So, you have the possibility of marrying two women, right? One woman here, another woman here. Both of them are your ideal candidates. One of these women, she may or may not be able to have children, right?
Right.
The other woman, she is definitely going to be able to reproduce, okay? So one may or may not be able to have children, but both of their traits are identical for you. To be on the safe side, what would you go for?
You'd obviously go for the one who can have children.
Exactly. So if you have two beliefs, according to early Christianity, one is the belief that there's none worthy of worship except God, and Jesus is his messenger. And the second is the Trinity, or Jesus' divinity. Why would you go with the dangerous option rather than going with the most safest option? Look, I feel safe. If I die right now, I'm safe. Why? Because I believe there's none worthy of worship except God, but you're not safe.
But
According to the Torah, you would go to hell.
like,
According to the Torah, you know that.
yeah, according to the Torah, but then the laws have been changed through Jesus.
No,
And
but
anyway,
again, that's the
and-
Catholic Church. Forget that. for now.
And also another thing, if you're gonna base it on that, then I couldn't go fully on the Quran because it goes against Judaism. things that they believe that the Messiah would come, they never expected a person to come after the Messiah, and they don't even believe Jesus is the Messiah. So what you're saying just gets to another problem.
So look, that's a separate issue. But if you were to say that Islam contradicts certain parts of the Torah or Judaism, that's true. And the reason why that is because the Torah was changed. Even according to biblical scholars, the Torah was changed.
Okay.
Even according to Jewish scholars, it's been changed.
Well, then I have to be careful on that, because recently I've been also hearing that the Quran is not the original Quran from what it is. So
Well, if you've been hearing something, you need to investigate.
yeah, same with
The reality is this:
I have to investigate
if I walk up,
Jewish
if
thing
I
as
walk
well.
up around this park and I recite one verse of the Quran, one verse say Qul huwallahu ahad, God is one, right? The next person, anyone in this park who's a Muslim, he will continue in the next verse. It doesn't matter whether you're Sunni Muslim, Sufi Muslim, Salafi Muslim, Deobandi Muslim, Shia Muslim, you will recite the same Quran. That's the reality. Now, just because somebody's saying the Quran's been changed doesn't mean the Quran's been changed. But everybody has realized something about history. The most followers of Jesus after his death were Unitarians, not Trinitarians.
Well,
Trinitarians existed 300 years later.
I have to look into that. I can't argue with that.
Okay, but look, what's something you can go with right now? Is God all powerful?
Yeah, of course.
Is God all knowing?
Yeah,
Is God independent of everything?
Yeah.
Is God unseen?
yeah.
Jesus is none of these.
I can argue this once again, but
No, but why would you want to argue?
Because-
That's your logic. That's basic logic.
Yeah, it's basic logic, but you need to remember. I could. So many things I could easily say. I could easily say that God came down to humble himself as Jesus to show us the right path and blah blah.
You can come up with any ad hoc rationalization. That's what human beings do. Any human being, they can come up with a
But don't you do that as well? When you rationalize on what you believe.
No, it's not ad hoc. Ad hoc is where you come up with a random explanation, even though there's an obvious explanation in front of you.
Yeah, but it's not about what's obvious, it's about what's true. I don't base it on what's obvious.
Okay.
Not everything we think
God,
is obvious is
God,
actually
according
true.
to the Bible, which you believe in,
Yeah.
God says He is not the author of confusion.
Yeah, I've heard many Muslims use that one.
Right.
Right. But it's not
But,
about.
but early Christianity, there was a large group of Christians which were not believing that Jesus is God.
I have to look into that. I can't argue with that one now. But anyways, good speaking to you.
Okay, what if I was to tell you this? What if I was to tell you, in the Bible, in Isaiah 42, it mentions 4 things. It mentions a man is going to come from the children of Kedar.
I know about Isaiah 42. I've
Right.
looked into that.
Okay, so you've got 2 choices with Isaiah 42. Either there's an Arabian prophet who hasn't come yet.
But you need to remember where Kedar is. Most people assume Kedar is all the way down from Saudi Arabia when it's more near the north of the Arabia.
According to the Bible, according to Isaiah, it uses the word Selah.
Yeah, Selah.
Selah.
But
Selah, according to biblical historians, is the oasis which is in the south of Hijaz, which today is modern day Medina.
I cannot definitely argue with that.
That's
one.
biblical scholars. You can disagree with them.
Biblical.
scholars.
I'll look into that, because right now, what I've looked into is, if you look at Selah, and it even shows in the Bible, it's where the Jordan is.
You have a copy of the Quran, right?
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay. I'll give you this book. It has a website. The website onereason.org. When you click on an article about Muhammad in the Bible, Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the Bible, it goes through where Selah is. It has a map and it uses biblical references.
I'll look into that.
Reality is this, Manu. I'm not having this conversation for any other reason except that I believe you're in danger if you die. That's the only reason I'm having this conversation. I could be spending my Sunday afternoon doing absolutely anything else. And the reality is, unless your relationship with God is based upon a solid foundation, you're in danger. We both agree with this.
You could be just as much as in danger as I am, because trust me.
Okay. How could I be in danger when all I believe is there's none worthy of worship except God? I can't go wrong. How can I go wrong?
Because you assume that it would go against Jesus' teachings on him being God.
No. I'm not making any assumptions. All I'm saying is none is worthy of worship except God.
Yeah, but you still go against Jesus, because even though you say none's worthy of worshiping God, you still have to believe in Jesus to get to God. In fact,
look,
Jesus says you can't even get to the Father except through him. So,
Okay.
it doesn't matter if you believe in God. If you don't believe in Jesus, you don't really believe in God.
My belief is very straightforward, which is none is worthy of worship except God. If I was to adopt your belief, my belief would have to be, I believe in a concept which was alien to all the prophets, which no person can understand, which came 300 years after Jesus, and which belief, according to the Torah, which is the earlier revelation, anybody holding that belief would go to hell. That's very speculative. That's a very dangerous belief. We're talking about hell forever. We're not talking about, 10 minutes. 10 minutes is, unbearable. Forever.
I know, but I could use my strongest argument, but I'm not even going to get into that because that's even.
The reality is, when the day of judgment comes, it's not going to be a time for arguments. You're not going to have time to go back to your pastor. Atheists are going to be, they're not going to have time to go to Dawkins and say, save us. People are going to be saying, myself. The reality is this: you've heard the message in this lifetime, because remember, nothing happens except by the permission of God. So you've heard today, in December 2016, a very clear message. Believing in the Trinity will lead to hellfire forever. Believing in what the previous prophets believed would lead you to where they are right now.
The way,
which is paradise.
Anyway, the way you're making it look, it looks like I'm being stubborn saying no, but trust me, I know a lot about
According
this
to
topic,
God,
so.
it's not being stubborn. It's blaspheming, which is a difference, which is a major difference. God says in the Quran, if the skies were to know this statement, actually, sorry, I've actually forgotten what the verse is. The verse basically speaks about the magnitude of saying such a horrific thing as God has a son. That's a horrific thing to say. Look, in our society today, we're taught relativism. Everything's relative, being good, being bad, whatever. The reality is this: the greatest sin possible. You could be Mother Teresa times a million. You could give all the charity in the world. You could feed all the orphans in the world. But if you disbelieve in God or worship anyone besides God, that's the greatest sin. Greater than murder, rape, stealing, anything. The greatest sin is to worship other than God. And what you are upon right now is a belief that Abraham didn't know, Moses didn't know, Adam didn't know. What I am upon is the same thing that all prophets believed and Jesus believed. In fact, when was the last time that you prayed to God like Jesus prayed? With your head on the floor?
My head on the floor. I prayed with my head on the floor before.
Okay, so you and Jesus have the same Lord. That's all I'm asking you to accept. You and Jesus have the same Lord.
Oh my days. It's a long topic. I don't even want to get into this, but...
God is not the author of confusion. It doesn't need to be a long topic. There's only one God. It's simple.
Trust me, religion is not simple. It's not.
I don't trust you. I trust God. God has always said there's one God. That's all He said. There's one God.
Yeah, and so do Christians believe, but it's not.
They do not believe. They believe in a pagan idea which came from the Romans.
Nah.
That's history.
Don't worry, I know the Roman pagan belief, and I know where it stems from.
And
how
it seems
started.
to be identical to the Trinitarian belief. Identical.
No, not even close. No, I know why you would say that, but it's not even close.
Look, I want you to consider one thing. The Quran says a simple message. Tell the Christians, let's agree about one thing. One thing. Come to a common word. None is worthy of worship except God.
But yeah, I'll probably end it here for now. I'm going to speak to other people, but yeah, it's good speaking to you.
Have a nice day.